stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Item 1.03, approval or revision of agenda. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Fayetteville-Manlius School District approve the agenda as presented. May I have a motion? Thank you, Rebecca. And a second. Thanks, John. All in favor? Anybody opposed or abstaining? Great. Thank you.
Just for laughs. No pressure. This could
It's all right.
be our shortest meeting.
We are very aligned up here. We got all the best board members here today anyway. Welcome, Dan. Item 2.01, we're going to move into presentations. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the well, nope, we're not going to do that yet, but we're going to have first the presentation of the 2024-25 external audit. And we're going to have Assistant Superintendent Corbin introduce your colleagues. Thank you.
Mark Shirelli, bring him down here. Mark's our external auditor, working with Grossman St. Amours. I think the audit committee had a chance maybe to visit a little bit with Mark last week. So at this point, I'm going to let Mark talk a little bit more about the audit results.
Thanks, Brad. Can everyone hear me okay? Great. Hi, everyone. As Brad said, my name is Mark Shirelli. I'm a partner with Grossman St. Amours CPAs, and we're your external auditors for the June 30th, 2025 financial statements. You probably see them in your packet, and I'm going to go through this presentation. Thanks for getting me so quick. I really appreciate it. I think I should be able to click forward with this. Excellent. Everything works so well. So our agenda is communication with those charged with governance. That's the people that are in this room today in management. It's the main reason we're here. We'll talk a little bit about the basic financials, some high-level district-wide financial highlights. We'll mention the reports required by uniform guidance, that's your federal funds that come in, and then extra classroom activities. Communication with those charged with governance. Our responsibility in relation to the financial statement audit performed under generally accepted auditing standards is to express an opinion on your financial statements prepared by management with your oversight. So what that really says is your financial statements that you see in the packets that you received on board docs are yours. The only thing that's ours are the opinions on there, and that opinion is an unmodified, clean opinion. You'll see the opinion in those first few pages, but what you want to receive is a clean opinion, so that's a good thing. There were no material weaknesses noted, another positive thing as well. Your plan scope and timing is consistent with our plan previously communicated to management and the audit committee in a meeting on May 28th, 2025. We've complied with all ethical requirements regarding our independence. It's important to note that we're independent of the district. We're required to be as your external auditors. Management has made all applicable management decisions. They prepare the schedule of federal awards, and they also prepare the statement of your extra classroom activities funds. We assist in the preparation of your financial statements, but management is able to take responsibility for those statements as well, and their management team is able to take responsibility for those financial statements. And also, we have a secondary partner review where my team that does the audit reviews those statements and assists in their preparation. I have another partner that works on school districts that provides a secondary review of those as well. So there's a lot of layers to reviewing those financial statements to make sure they're in line with what needs to be submitted to New York State. Continuing, qualitative aspects of our accounting practices, they're discussed in footnote 1 of the financial statements. This is a very long footnote number 1. Also this year, GASB 101 was implemented by management. This is the change in how compensated absences are calculated. Management was successful in their implementation of that this year. There weren't any big changes as a result of that from a number standpoint, but it was some effort on management's end to get that done. Significant accounting estimates. It's important to note that estimates are used in the preparation of financial statements. The biggest estimates of those are included are the useful lives of capital assets, your other post-employment benefits, your GASB 75 accruals, as well as your GASB 68 pension measurement. A lot of those numbers you don't have much control over, but there are estimates included in establishing those numbers for the district. Significant risks. It's important to understand that as auditors, we have to analyze significant risks in every engagement. And the two common significant risks to every audit, and especially every school district audit, are management override and improper revenue recognition. We design our testing to note if there's any material instances of that. Those are common standard risks that we address in every audit that we do, but we just have to communicate that to you. Financial statement disclosures, those are neutral and consistent with professional standards and guidelines. There were no difficulties encountered in performing the audit, no uncorrected adjustments proposed during the audit procedures or adjusting entries, and no disagreements with management. Many of these items you would have heard from me well ahead of time if I encountered any of them, but the one thing I want to note here is there were no adjusting entries. That's really important to note, that any financial statement information, financial data that you've seen throughout the previous year is in line with what you're seeing today on these financial statements. That's really important. You really don't want your auditors coming out and making huge adjustments or changing the numbers significantly. So it's you have a really strong management team, so that wasn't necessary in this instance. Representations are requested from management. The letter will be dated October 6, 2025, the date of this meeting, once the final board accepts the financial statements. There are no known management consultations with other accountants. Management has taken responsibility for our firm's assistance in preparation of your financial statements. Also, there will be an electronic submission of your federal expenses into the Office of Management and Budget once that system is ready to receive it. Also, there were no significant matters or findings that were a discussion to our retention as your external auditors. That's it for communication with governance. Just to talk about the financial statements, they're about 70 pages long, so there's a lot of information in there. If you'd like to take a look at what's gone on in the district over the last year from a financial perspective, management does a really good job of their management discussion and analysis. This is page 4 through 12. If you want to know what's going on, read through that to kind of see what's occurred during the previous fiscal year. That's really a high-level summary of it. Otherwise, the basic financial statements are on pages 13 through 18. Essentially, it takes your fund financial statements and includes any long-term debt and long-term assets, and that's how you get to your district-wide financial statements. It's a whole process that is gone through. And then there's the notes to the financial statements. They're about 40 pages long there, and there's supplemental schedules and your report on internal control over financial reporting. Again, no material weaknesses were noted. Again, all good news. So high-level financial highlights. There was an increase in the property tax revenue of approximately $2.7 million. That was in accordance with your property tax levy. Your capital outlay expenditures were approximately $20.2 million due to ongoing capital projects. You also have a bond anticipation note, or BAN, for $44.8 million that's related to the 2021 capital referendum in your capital fund. And then your federal expenditures have decreased from the prior year to this year by $472,000. That's mainly due to the decrease in the American Rescue Plan funding that was received. That's your COVID money. That's slowly going away. I anticipate this upcoming year it'll pretty much be gone. The report required by uniform guidance, this is shown in a separate report provided. That isn't able to be issued as final yet because the White House Office of Management and Budget, they provide guidelines. They haven't finalized that yet, and with the government shutdown, I'm not sure when that will be finalized, but once it is, we'll be able to issue it as final. You see it marked as a draft currently, but as soon as they're able to receive it, we will issue that as final as well. The major program that was selected this year is your Special Education Cluster, or the IDEA program. you received an unmodified report on compliance over your major programs, so that means there's no material weaknesses that were noted in our procedures, so another good thing for the district. And finally, extra classroom activities. First thing I'll mention is no management alert comments. That's not common for extra classroom activities. FM takes the process of your extra classroom activities very seriously and accounting for them appropriately, so that's a really positive thing. The opinion for extra classroom activities is modified for a scope limitation over cash receipts. That is common to all other districts that we work with and really common for districts all across upstate New York. The modification is related to cash receipts because the money coming in, it's easy to look at the money going out the door. You have invoices and checks and you can see that, but the cash coming in the door, it's kids handling cash, so traditionally the extra classroom activities opinion is modified in regard to cash receipts. Again, that's a common thing, but nothing to be concerned about. And that's it for my presentation. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them, but kudos to this board and to the audit committee as well, and the management team for having a really strong team in place that can handle this, takes it very seriously, doesn't want your auditors coming out and making a bunch of adjustments, so you're doing a good job of leading this team.
Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you for that. I'll certainly echo the kudos to our business office and everybody in there when we see clean reports that directly reflects on them. So kudos to all of them for sure. Two quick things. Is there a deadline that we have to meet for the final report that OMB's delays and the closure is going to impact?
So the deadline to submit to New York State, which is just the financial statements that you see that were issued, that is October 15th. For the OMB specifically, that will be essentially whenever they're able to do it. So essentially once they're ready, it'll probably be 30 days from there, but traditionally it's 30 days from when you've issued the statement, and we haven't issued it yet, so you should have a window there. But I don't expect there to be any issue with sending that in once they're ready.
Just projecting ahead of we don't
Sure.
know how long that delay is going to
Yeah.
be. Is that a 2025 requirement, or is that is going into 2026 if that's where we end up acceptable?
Right. Yes. So I guess we're in the 2026 fiscal year now, but we can submit it really as soon as they're ready. There shouldn't be any issue with that. So.
Okay.
Just add quick to Mark, and correct me if I'm wrong. I talked to Lynn on Friday. I think what we're going to do is separate out, so actually the documents for the state purposes can be submitted timely and actually go and meet that October 15th deadline, so those will be accepted from that aspect. And this other document, as soon as it's able to be, will be. But the state will get everything in full and be able to receive everything and meet, fulfillment for that.
The state requirements are really the ones you want to make sure you meet, because sometimes the state can withhold that funding. You
Yeah.
won't have that problem as long as you submit it before October 15th, which you will.
Okay, great. The other is you had touched on a number that is large as it stands, but very, very small relative to our overall budget, which is the extra classroom funds. So I know that there's perpetually an issue with some cash receipt accounting on some portion of that, but are you able to quantify, like, of that 550, what percentage of that we do have just interested in what percentage of that truly is traceable and what part of it is potentially slightly gray?
So it's not quite about what's traceable or what's not. It's that we don't know what's coming in necessarily. So if someone were to hand someone $10,000 of cash and they just were to not record it, we wouldn't have any way of knowing unless we were somehow observing all of the activities. So that's why the modification exists there. But if someone were to write someone a check, you'd see that sort of support. So the cash part of it is very difficult to get your arms around, which is why the modification is traditional.
Wrong, but I thought we had made some adjustments a couple of years ago where we were limiting true cash receipts in those activities and clubs where we could, so that it was more accurately
Can I
traced?
just,
I just don't, I don't
No,
have it
no,
in front of
no,
me, but I
let-
thought we had addressed this in the past.
you asked a good question, and it was actually one, I think, an audit committee they talked a little bit about as well. Within that, the question was kind of the opinion, why the modified opinion from that aspect. I think the question then I raised was, what happens in other districts from that aspect? Are there any other districts that get that opinion? And I think the answer from the state level is no. Everybody gets that same opinion. So what we do is, on an annual basis, Lynn goes through, we do this pamphlet number 2, I guess, or whatever the current term is, go through and we meet actually at the building level, the high school level, and we go through and do a presentation on extra classroom activities. How do we properly record receipts? How do you restore cash? Things of that nature. Are controls in place, and here's are followed. From our side, you'll do a sampling of probably whatever was out there. You'll have your findings. You determine there were no material weaknesses. But on our side, everybody really gets that same opinion from that aspect.
And I'd
So-
say there's no issues with how you're recording your revenue on that side from our perspective. It's just, we can't provide that opinion. We have to modify the opinion.
And it also includes preventative. We have moved where we can, but it's also the training of the central treasurers, so we
Sure.
tried to be proactive, not just reactive.
Maybe to just slightly restate my question, is there anything that you found in our practices in that regard where you have any suggestions to make for improvements on that?
Not that I could see from, I always think about with FM is the dance marathon. A lot of districts would not have the kind of support that you have. You do a really good job of having a list of what students attend, and list of who donates and the envelopes. So that's great. It's a really strong practice. So nothing came to my attention that would say this is something you need to improve right away related to extra classroom activities and the revenue that's coming in. Sure.
Thank you for that. And for future reference, if anyone would like to dive into the details, you're welcome to join the audit committee. And we can go through that.
We appreciate the marketing there. I like that.
No problem. Anybody else have any questions? And I would also just echo, Brad, big thank you to your team and Tracy and Lynn for all that they have done to make sure that we're in a really solid financial position. So thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, anything else you guys wanted to present? All right. So we can take our action. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Fayetteville-Manlius School District accepts the 2024-25 external audit report as presented. May I have a motion? Thanks, Ann and Dan. Any discussion? All in favor? Anybody opposed or abstaining? Thank you. All right, item 2.02 is a presentation by Lisa Wade regarding enrollment and hiring data.
Good evening. Thank you for having me come tonight to present our 2025-26 instructional staffing and enrollment report. That's a little loud. All right, so we're going to try this. Hopefully this will work for me. We're going to go to, here we go, great. So tonight, what I'm going to present to you are the new and promoted administrative and instructional positions for this school year, the student enrollment trends, then the sections, enrollment and ratios. Then we'll cover the teaching assistants and the aide staffing. And then the last two items are the board goals as well as strategic plan initiatives, and we'll talk about next steps from there. All right, so this year we hired 4 administrative positions. Last year we had 7. 34 teaching and ancillary positions were hired, 30 in 2024. 25 probationary appointments, 24 last year. 7 regular substitutes and or long-term substitutes, we had 9 in 2024. And then 17 of our openings were due to administrator or teacher retirements, 12 last year. And then 12 of our teachers resigned for various reasons. Last year we talked about implementing an exit checklist, and we piloted that. This year we put the checklist into place for all staff. So when staff leave, we send them an exit checklist. We ask them to fill out the survey, and then we collect feedback from them so that we can work on improving. If there's things that they share with us that need to be looked at, we try to do that. And if there's things that they want to complement, we look at that as well. So we have 7 people who are leaving to attend to personal matters, 2 who are relocating due to a spouse or significant other's job change, 2 who are looking to explore different career options, and then 1 who's returning to retirement status. And on the exit checklist, we received back 15 responses in the tenure areas and positions that we've identified here. Those are the instructional staff who were departing, and then the buildings that they represent are shared on the slide. And the pictures, by the way, are from the website, so I hope you enjoy them. Then our new staff that we hired this year for our teaching positions, 96% of the teachers that we hired this year already hold a master's degree. Last year we had 86% of our staff hired holding master's degrees. This year our cohort averages 9.67 years of teaching experience, and last year we had 10 years of experience. And we hired 1 teacher from another state outside of New York. All right, what I did a little bit different this year is I took the 10-year trend, so this is the total student enrollment trend over the 10 years, and pulled this graphic out a little bit differently so that you can see, you know, in our COVID years we had that decline, and then we steady made an increase. And we've been declining somewhat since 2023. This year compared to last year, we're down 15 students. And then this is the graph that I had last year with that trend kind of on the same chart, but it shows the difference in terms of our student population. Again, you can see the difference from last year to this year that we have changed by losing 15 students. And all the data we're reporting is as of September 30th. So it's as current as we could possibly have for this presentation. The 10-year kindergarten enrollment trend, as you can see here, I left the graph on the top of this one showing the 10-year trend, and we have declined by 48 students this year. So. And then this is just a different slide taking the enrollment from UPK to grade 4. Showing you by the 3 elementary schools what our enrollment has kind of changed or where we're at for a current total of 1,583 elementary and UPK students. For our middle school, which is up in the right-hand corner there, the middle school student enrollment is at 1,311. And then our high school enrollment is 1,316. So again, a decline of 15 students compared to last year. So this one is the chart that we brought last year showing the ratios. Grades K to 2, the ratio in the FMTA contract limits that we cannot have more than 23 students in a class. The top sort of orange color line on those charts that's the ratio. So for kindergarten, we're at 19.4% for each of the for each of the kindergarten classes altogether. For first grade, 20.2. For second grade, 20.3. So you can see we're well under that contract limit for those early grades, K to 2. Grades 3 to 6, the contract limit is to try not to have more than 25 students in a class. So our third grade classes are at 23.2. Our fourth grade classes are at 23. Our fifth grade classes are at 23. And our sixth grade classes are at 24. And then this chart was in the presentation last year. It's taking each grade at each of the 3 schools. The top chart there shows kindergarten, first and second grade, and that breaks it out for each school, the number of sections we have at each school, the enrollment at each school, and then what that ratio comes out to. And again, you'll see that we are certainly under the limit of what the contract states. Grades 3 to 6, again, we did the same thing by each of the schools, and we have reflected there what the enrollment, the sections, and the ratios are. And then the middle school, for middle school and high school, it's a little different. It's 125 students per day based on 5 or 6 classes per day, or 750 students per week for 7th to 12th grade. I don't have the high school numbers here, and as we discussed before, it's really hard with over 200 classes, various SUPA, APE, there's so many electives that it's really hard to put those ratios here because of the variety of and the number of classes that we have. And we will be having a future presentation that we're going to bring back to the board at another time to show more about ratios and class sizes. Now the teaching assistants, I phoned a friend, so Tracy's here with me tonight. So if there's any questions about the teaching assistants or the aides, our teaching assistants, again, are certified staff that have a certification through New York State Ed Department. They can do small group instruction, they can do one-to-one support of students, and the aides are typically in a supervision position, whether it's in lunch, recess, it could be the hall room supervision. So it's a little bit different in terms of what these 2 staff represent. We have 103 teaching assistants. We are still holding 1 vacancy open at Enders Road to be filled later. And we have 46 teacher aides. And as far as the applicants, as you can see, the applicant pool, we really get quite a few applicants here. This is a great place to work, and a lot of people are attracted to working here, but we do have a few high need areas that not only we're struggling with, but so are other districts. A lot of that is the special education, some of the supports, the blind and visually impaired. You'll see that we struggle to get candidates for psychologist positions, also the speech positions. Those are very limited in terms of our applicants, and many of our colleagues in the area are seeing that as well. Some of the other positions that we had some concerns with when we posted out are our world language. So for German, we were surprised that we got 3 applicants, but again, they were from other districts and they were applying to come here. And for Spanish, we had 3 applicants, and pretty much the same thing from other districts. So hopefully the teacher pool will turn around here eventually, but we are seeing other applicants from other districts coming in. Our administrative applicants, we hired the 4 positions as I indicated, the 2 principal positions, the 2 assistant principal positions, and right now we have an interim AP position that we are in the process of starting some screening interviews, and we'll bring a candidate forward pretty soon. And then we continued with our professional learning and support for staff. We conducted the 2nd Substitute Professional Development training, and it was very well received. So I think we're going to continue to do that, take the feedback from those who attend, and then continue to improve upon that. Then the professional development for teaching assistants and aides. This year we had them in for 2 days, which was part of our contract negotiations. And a big thanks to Amy and as well as Tracy for pulling together professional development for the teaching assistants, and we received a lot of compliments on the training that they received. So something to continue to work on. Then our negotiating the career ladder opportunities. We've done this with the other contracts, but we built that into the teaching assistants contract. And we've already got 4 people who are taking the professional development and classes and looking to get into grow our own program here where we have people going into our positions that open up in the future. So that was our intent, and hopefully it's going to continue to grow. Then on the lines of the diversity, equity, and inclusion, again, we're still continuing to work on making this a welcoming and affirming place for all. And we're going to continue to do those efforts, and negotiating contracts that are inclusive of staff and contain gender-neutral language. We're trying to be very mindful of that. Reflecting on our hiring practices, 59% of our new hires this year are from communities outside of the FM neighborhoods, where last year we were at 40%. 0.03% of our new hires are diverse staff. We had 0.06 last year, so that's an area that we do need to continue to focus and work on, looking for more diverse staff who represent our students. Then continuing to improve our communications. We did implement our news and notes. It goes out monthly to our staff. We put out important information. We list the appointments that the board approves, any retirements or resignations. So we've continued to try to improve that communication and ask the staff, do you have suggestions for things that you'd like to see? And if it's something we can do, we will add it into our monthly newsletter. And again, using social media in terms of our communications team to try to help highlight some of our openings has been helpful, especially with substitute needs and things like that. And so if you are ready, we will have a class-size research presentation that Melissa Corbin is going to present at a future date. We are working with SUNY RIC to get that data. We will also have comparative data for other districts. And it'll be a good look in research, in terms of where we're at compared to others. And that is it. Any questions?
Did you want to say a word? You've included your presentation to Facilities Committee for new members.
Oh, and the
board.
executive content in your packets, you'll see the presentation that was previously done by Carrie Letters and Melissa Corbin to the Facilities Committee. So that is available for you to start taking a look at before we come back with our additional presentation. Thank you, Dr. Tice.
Hi,
Hello.
thank you. I think you said you had, if I read correctly, 117 in UPK right now. Do you know how those projections look compared to last year when we're trying to think about what kindergarten might look like
Forecasting.
coming up?
Yeah, forecasting ahead.
Yeah.
I'm going to phone a friend, Melissa.
I just wondering if our enrollment in UPK is usually indicative. I know it's been such a new
Right, and
process.
some of the students don't end up coming to
Right.
the district. They may go to
Oh, okay.
so I'll have Melissa answer that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's your crystal ball and tell.
Because UPK is not required,
Yeah.
it really is not a good indicator of how many students are coming for kindergarten. However, last year we had a sense that we knew that this year's kindergarten class was going to be much smaller because we actually start to survey families in January. I send a survey out to anyone who has a child who is or who will be of kindergarten age, because we have a lot of children who receive services that we coordinate. That was part of my prior position. So we have all of that data as well as siblings. But because UPK is not representative, we don't have enough seats for every child who could attend UPK. It really is not an indicator of enrollment.
Thank you. a couple of questions. One, you sort of stole my second question with Melissa's upcoming report. I think it's really helpful. I know we've talked about this in some prior years in the class size reporting, is to understand that as a function of time. So I'm assuming that will be part of it. I look forward to that. I think that's a little bit more informative, at least to me, than just the snapshot of the current in terms of class sizing. I do have a very specific question that I don't even know if you can answer, but Mott Road Kindergarten is literally half the size of the 4th grade class. Do we have any information, understanding, theories? And I ask that because, you know, we've been trying to think creatively about some capacity issues at each of our elementary schools, and Mott had been one of the ones that had climbed up significantly. It seems like after this school year, we're going to see some significant relief in that school as the 4th graders move to the middle school. Middle school will start to have its own challenges as a result. But any understanding of what's driving that number at Mott?
Mott is really interesting because we have a lot of families who reside in Wildwood Ridge. So we have a lot of families who are, sometimes parents are here on work visas, sometimes they have moved here from other countries. There's quite a community, a Turkish population in that particular development, and all those children go to Mott Road. So part of that is the rise and fall of numbers that we see. The current 4th grade class and the class who just left Mott Road were bubbles, much larger than I think we've ever seen at Mott. I actually think 3 sections is much closer to normal, what we had been seeing. So my projections, and I'm certainly not an expert, we're probably going to be back to 3 or 4 sections in that particular building, one per grade level, once this 4th grade group moves on. They have been those current 4th, last year's 4th seem to be an anomaly for the numbers at Mott. Yes. We watched it all summer long because we kept saying this is so much smaller than what we had seen. I did anticipate that we would have a lot fewer kindergartners this year because the number of IEPs that I had for our 3rd and 4th graders, or I'm sorry, 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds were much smaller. We just had fewer students receiving services, which isn't always a perfect representation either. There are a lot of factors that go into that, but it just didn't line up the way other cohorts did. So
Because of that, we actually lost 2 sections from the year prior because of the decline. We lost so many students coming into the new class of kindergarten that we lost 2 sections.
Does that mean that we think we're going to gain some space availability in Mott next year?
No comment. I mean, because we operate
Right.
neighborhood elementary schools, I mean, as you just alluded to, it makes it difficult with transient population, and just to predict that, usually you can, we can get a thumbnail sketch because of the apartments, as
Right.
Melissa referenced, but we've seen it before. Fayetteville compared to Manlius, you're seeing more stability. Fayetteville, maybe with Micron arriving, it'll be easier to sell some of the grand old homes in Fayetteville, but you're seeing, rentals more so on the north side of the district. So we may end up with more space, but we also know as an administrative unit, it could evaporate, and you've seen it too. It could evaporate in a second. And I applaud the work of the administrative team and Amy Evans, who isn't here this evening, bringing, as you know, some of the special area needs schools or students back into their home district. May not be at their home school per se, but they're back, among their neighbors and friends in the district. So we've tried to capitalize on the space. But it could evaporate, just depending on the movement.
I was thinking more along the lines of, we've brought some of the special ed programs more into Fayette over the years, and are they more spread out? Okay, because otherwise, if Fayette's been a capacity issue, if we're opening, we'll dig deeper into that at different.
Yeah, Ender's
thing.
ponied up this year, so I mean, it's spread out between the buildings. Good point.
Thank you for that presentation, Lisa. My question is about instructional staff, and you mentioned certain areas that are like a dearth of candidates. I'm just wondering if we have any strategies in terms of recruitment for that piece, as well as, you also highlighted diverse candidates that reflect our students. Just, are we doing any things different this year, or starting to think about that?
Right, we're going to try to use, as I mentioned, the social media more. So we're going to try to do that a little bit more to reach maybe different populations that we haven't reached. We do have a group that we meet with monthly at OC and BOCES, and we're talking with them in terms of what strategies are they using as well. And Melissa and I have attended a couple of conferences, and we've been fortunate to kind of hear some ideas, but we're going to have to start thinking a little bit differently. Posting in the paper is great, but we do need to start to reach out differently. It is a struggle in the area for a lot of people. So.
To that point, Lisa, I know we've had students who go into the elementary schools periodically to help out in classrooms. Are we making a concerted effort to try to recruit from within with our own students to get them excited about the field of education, and tapping certain students that we think, boy, I bet that one would make a really excellent teacher, and try to give real world opportunities within our own district to help and maybe inspire from that perspective?
We are inviting as many student teachers in as we can to come in and have those experiences. And last year, Dr. Tice helped us get back in place this Syracuse University piece of it too. So we're getting a lot more of our student teachers from the university. But any volunteers who come in, trying to entice them to maybe start as an aide or an assistant, and asking them to apply, and then maybe from there they start doing the career ladder. And that's part of that grow our own piece of it. So hopefully that will help.
I'm really.
We still have a club at the high school though, too, and the high schoolers actually go out and visit and work in our classrooms.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fantastic that we're starting to re-leverage student teaching, because that's something that I've wondered about for a while.
Right.
But I was more thinking about our current students in the high school who may get them interested in a potential career path about teaching, and that might be a really excellent opportunity to grow our own that way.
I'd love to see that.
Because don't they say, the data says you tend to come back, the
Right.
teachers tend to come back to their
own
home
community,
areas
right,
and that kind of thing
right.
statistically. The other thing I was wondering, are we actively involving current teachers in the brainstorming about how we can do some different things from a recruitment and retention perspective, since they're living the job right now, and maybe learn some things or have some ideas about that?
Some of the positions, particularly like when we had the shortage, we were approaching the German teacher opening posting, and we worked with the teacher who was leaving and said, do you have connections? For our music department, we reach out to them as well, and then they reach out to their connections and organizations that they're part of, and then they send our ads out to those organizations and connections they have.
Yeah.
It would be great for us to survey them, especially some of our new hires too. They may have some ideas and suggestions as well, but we are trying to tap into some of that.
I guess I'm just sort of wondering, we had a teacher who's also a parent come and speak to the board recently about class sizes, and it might be a really great opportunity to get collective problem solving about how we can approach the teacher shortage, and it helps with smaller class sizes if we have the staff to be able to have smaller classes as well. And so I guess I was just curious if that's a possibility of even sort of having a collaborative committee or something to work on this, because the problem's not
going away.
Right.
It's continuing to be an issue for all districts, but I'm wondering about that.
Yeah, I think once we have the data, that might be a good, right?
The only thing that I will say, I have 2 points. It's not just about having the teachers for class size, though. It's about having the space to be able to do that and making sure that if we're doing it for one, we're doing it for everyone to make sure that we're being equitable in that.
Yeah.
We want kids to have similar experiences regardless of what building they're in. So I do think we really need to be mindful of that too, because most of our buildings are at capacity.
Yeah, no, for sure, and with any problem solving, there's always constraints, right? So,
Yes.
okay.
And special areas too, in order to accommodate those extra
True,
classes.
yes. This year, we added some additional sessions for our new hires, and I'm wondering, Lisa, for our very last session, if that could be part of our focus. So they're new to us. Many of them, as Lisa shared, are not brand-new teachers, but we want to kind of bring them in and show them our FM way and gather ideas from them as well. So each of the sessions has a different topic, but the last one really is a year in review. We want their feedback. What other support do you need? So we could weave that into it too and see if they have ideas about kind of the hiring and recruitment process. So that would be great.
Do you ever have, I mean, this is totally just thinking from what you said. I mean, do you ever share testimonials from new-ish teachers, even like videos when you are recruiting just for different tools? I mean, there's probably a lot of multimedia ways to share the FM experience that come out through stories. I don't know, I'm just thinking of, we have so many incredible resources here. There might be ways to kind of highlight teachers that are new or a few years into the district and veteran teachers in terms of their experience, why they love it, and why you should come work here. Just a thought.
That's, when, I guess my past experience, I did see those kind of recruitment videos where the storytelling from somebody who's been in the district either for a short amount of time or someone who's been, in the district for a long career, hearing those stories are so personal, and it can touch somebody's heart and change their mind and certainly help them join in. And then to your, back to your question about having this as a potential high school pathway, it might be something, that we do start at the high school, looking at the portrait of a graduate. Is this another thing that we can look at to create a pathway for our students who say, you are a natural leader, you step up to the plate, you teach, we've seen you teach others, like encourage them by giving those positive praises to them and encourage them to think about a career and education and get them right on the pathway right then and there when we have them. That would be great. Now there's so many opportunities for us to do a lot of this. It's exciting.
So, Melissa, one of your answers really hit at the heart of where I was trying to go with this. You've sat in our facilities committee meetings where we've talked about this, and yes, class size is a significant part of facilities long-range planning. I don't think there's probably anybody at this table that wouldn't love to see smaller class sizes in our district. And that's really where I was going with my questions is, might we find some space somewhere? Because we have space constraint problems. So I look forward to your upcoming report on this, because this is an area where, as we look at each building and continue to look at each building, that we continue to look to see, can we find ways to better accommodate this? I mean, we're very mindful of the impact of these numbers and the studies that have been out there. Not a lot of them. You brought that to our attention. There are not a lot of great studies, but the better that we can do is great, but we can't just manufacture space out of the air. Right? So it's a long-range process, and one that we're certainly going to keep looking at. So thank you for raising that as part of the issue.
Or build on speculation, which you've said before too.
Well, I wonder how does that work if we, in an upcoming capital project, if we knew we wanted to build in some extra classrooms because we maybe wanted to be able to have smaller class sizes, is that aidable because it's new space, but it's not for new.
So we have this lovely thing in New York State, BAUs. building aid units. In English, students don't like that they're called BAUs. We can't get aid for prospective space building currently. This is one of the things that we've continued to, we're going to talk about NISBA resolutions tonight. We've talked about the need for being able to do this when you have, for example, a micron coming into the community, and you know you're a destination district, and so you know you're going to see continued growth there. And we know that we're already at capacity or near capacity in some of our buildings. We should be able to build for that space, and we know that building in New York State with all the approval processes takes a very long time. And we're hamstrung, frankly, in just what we're allowed to do with that.
Which, thank you. I remember that we had talked about that one. I guess I was just wondering, are there limits that New York State puts on, a classroom has to have this many BAUs in it? Because if we said at FM, we would really like our kindergarten classes to have no more than 17 students, for example. And so we use that math to build out, we still have the same number of BAUs, but we just build more classroom space. I didn't know.
It also comes back to the maximum cost allowance for aid in each building, which is driven by the
Same.
BAUs. So it's one of these, it's not an if you build it, they will come. It's they need to come so you can build
Right.
it dilemmas. And that's where we're perpetually stuck on two things. One is just the core classroom space. But second is, like, just take hypothetically at Enders Road, that we added 10 new classrooms. Well, that's great, but that's 10 more classrooms that need gymnasium space, and the gymnasiums are full every period, and it's 10 more classrooms that need the same music room and the same art room, and so it's also needing to expand those spaces which are less aidable, and so it's just, this is one of the great New York State school funding problems, is that we as a district, I think, would uniformly vote to approve construction projects that added more classroom and instructional space to our buildings, to have smaller class sizes. But we'd have to do it unaided at this point. And so being able to plan when we get gaps where we have smaller classes and being able to do that is, the other piece just tangentially that we've talked about is really, and Brad, I don't know if you still have an answer, I don't have a great answer on, is whether that formula is going to change with UPK and which building, like we have all of our UPK assigned to Mott Road as their home school right now, is whether that can favorably affect the calculations for prospective construction. But I'll stop. This is a discussion that could go all day, but it's a nightmare.
Right. Okay.
It's a nightmare.
I mean, the bottom line is you can build as many classrooms as you want. It's just whether you're going to get the aid on it. I mean, eventually we'll be priced out.
Thank you,
All right.
guys.
Thank you for the
Appreciate it.
opportunity. Thanks.
Okay.
And one final thought on that, the reason the UPKs are at Mott is out of the 3 buildings, assuming we don't buy a 4th elementary school or repurchase a 4th elementary school, that's the one elementary that could withstand some additional classrooms on it just because of its footprint and location. The other buildings are pretty much tapped out.
Okay. Item 2.03, President's Report. Couple of things. So Dr. Tice mentioned in his Thursday letter, he and I attended a NISBA Superintendent Board communication program 2 Fridays ago now, and it was really outstanding, as all of the NISBA trainings are, and this was the first time that they have done this particular program, and they got a lot of really positive feedback, I believe, and I think it would be a great one to continue to participate in. But one of the couple of key takeaways. Number one, it further reinforced the importance of all of us considering opportunities for professional development. I know this is a volunteer role, but it's still an important one, and so I would encourage you to look at different conferences that are available to you, and the in-person ones are really fantastic, way better than any online one that you could do. And the other opportunity that I would like you guys to make sure you keep in the back of your head, I really would like us to consider having a board retreat, especially as we transition a new superintendent in. I believe there used to be annual board retreats, or at least periodic ones with the FM board. But since I have been on the board, we haven't really done that. I think it would be a really great opportunity for us to work collaboratively and bring on the new superintendent and then continue to work really well together as we move forward. So the other thing, thank you for those of you who have contributed to the Phil Martin Award. If you haven't yet done so, it's not too late. Cash, check, or Venmo is accepted. Yes, I have receipts. And then finally, I emailed you guys, and so I would like everybody who's on a committee to think about if there are opportunities to bring in either FMTA representatives or other teachers into different committee meetings when it's appropriate to make sure we can get input that is representative of our full school community and as well as students when it makes sense to do so as well, depending on what the topics are as we move forward. So if anybody has any other ideas to encourage more collaboration and engagement on that front, that would be greatly appreciated. And that is all I have. Anybody have any questions? Wonderful, thank you. Item 2.04. Superintendent's report.
Thank you, President Fitzgerald. The backup information is in your board packet. Item 1, capital project update. Construction continues on the high school's $52 million capital improvement project with an estimated 14 to 15 months to completion. Work is progressing on House 2 renovations located on the first floor before contractors will move eventually to the second floor. The Facilities Committee is looking ahead to putting bid packages together this winter for Phase 5, which is the site work for the high school, which will be done during the summer of 2026, as well as the 2025 capital transfer project, which will be at the bus garage. As reported earlier, SAM's grant funding from New York Assemblyman Al Sturpey's office provided the installation of 4 electronic message boards at FM High School, Eagle Hill Enders, Wellwood, Fayette, and Mott Road in time for the beginning of the new school year. The new signs, as we said, will improve communication capabilities in accordance with the recommendations from our recent safety and security audits. I'm pleased to report that training did take place with the staff, so the general public should be seeing a variety of messages beyond the customary date and time and temperature announcements. Item 2, School Start Time Committee. Our School Start Time Committee held its first meeting in September and will meet again in the coming week to deliberate whether or not to employ a flip, a slide, or a flip and slide solution potentially for the 2026 and 2027 academic year and beyond. The committee, which now includes students and their families, will work alongside our scheduling consultant, Elliot Marenblum, a former school administrator from the Baltimore, Maryland area, to examine the advantages and limitations to each approach. At the very least, by lengthening the school day by about 20 minutes, which will include the much anticipated abbreviated lunch periods at the high school, the start and stop schedules for the middle and elementary schools could be pushed about a half hour later into the afternoon if the slide option is chosen. I'll keep you posted on that. District goals. Even though we're a month into the new school year, school officials and staff members have been busy addressing the district goals. You'll hear more about it at our next meeting with the building action plans. But along with that, we're looking at a capital project referendum as Mr. Seidberg noted, to coincide with the reset of the maximum cost allowances for the different buildings, high school scheduling to include the new 30-minute lunch periods after we adjusted the bell schedule for the current year, and teachers sharing examples of personalized learning opportunities in their classroom in a public fashion, such as at future faculty meetings, all while the District Curriculum Council puts the finishing touches on the Portrait of a Learner framework that will describe graduation expectations as we head into a future of New York Inspires. Included in your backup information with this report is a copy of that Portrait of a Learner infographic, which outlines all the different areas our school administrators and teachers are working. It's an exciting time for all of us in transitioning from a mindset of what you know to what can you do with what you know. I know FM students and staff will succeed in making this transition in the future as we go through the New York Inspires transitional period. And finally, last but not least, the Tri-State Consortium will have on-site training. I'm pleased to report that FM has been chosen to host our inaugural on-site training for the Tri-State Consortium later this month. Our district's membership in the prestigious Tri-State Consortium allows us to participate in consultancies, which are site visits to provide helpful feedback regarding program improvement in a particular area, as well as study groups in which our administrators join with other administrators from Connecticut, New York, and New Jersey to share best practices being employed in the other districts. Thank you to Dr. Doughton for helping to organize this on-site training. This ends my superintendent's report.
Does anybody have any questions for Dr. Tice? Okay, thank you. And we're still on track for by no later than Thanksgiving decision on the school start time, I think.
That's what we're trying to make a decision, so we
Okay.
can give everybody as much advance notice as possible.
Okay. Thank you. Item 2.05, reports and committee and representative updates. So legislative liaison, I know Marissa is the point of contact. I'm going to be working with Jacob and team of students who might be of interest, so that they're going to connect and we'll talk through that. And Marissa's not here about BOCES, so I will send it over to you, Jacob, for the student update.
Thank you. So, as you may or may not know, this week is homecoming. This Friday, we'll be having our tailgate, our prep rally, as well as the homecoming itself. And the day after, we'll be having the homecoming dance. So, all exciting stuff. It's going to be a very busy week for STUCO, Student Council. This Tuesday, we'll be going to the Oneida County Courthouse. It's a bit of a field trip that we do annually, so that should be fun. Just to better learn about the kind of local legislature. As you may or may not know, we at the high school we do have a Tuesday as we vote. A recent discussion was about phone as well as New York and student opinions on that. Basically the question was asking if students said it was the right decision to implement a phone ban during the school day. 67.8% was against it, and 47.4% was said it was a good decision. So it's interesting. Well, there are many points where it could have been further elaborated, and of course it is up to the students and what they know about the idea behind the decision that was made. On the point of the school start time committee, and bit of a shout out to Chase. We've been looking to find more students to come to this committee. So that's about something we've been working on. We do not have like a definitive number of how many students will be attending, but we hope that'll be many. As of complaints, recently it's mostly been of internet. I did have a meeting recently with Mr. McNamara, and it's something that is trying to be addressed. So hopefully it's fully resolved by early this coming week. So, and that is mostly it for now. far in the
Can you
chat.
say more about what the internet complaint is?
It's mostly been about issue of certain sites that are being blocked, not by certain involving sites that are EDU or college sites, etc. Mostly interfering with teachers and how they are teaching, such as if a teacher's trying to use a website to teach us like a specific course that they need to show this is what their study has been like says. It's been there's been issues. There is a way for teachers to resolve these, which I've discussed with Mr. McNair, and it's something that he's been trying to address to teachers who have had issues with.
Dr. Tice, do you know, I've heard that feedback as well. Do you know if we changed something with our security protocol or that resulted in a lot more restrictions?
Yes, our tech department is working through that. They sent an email out today, and it was carbon copied on.
Thank you, Jacob. Does anyone have any questions for Jacob? Great, I appreciate it. So this is the month we're going to do some committee updates if everyone would like to. Ms. Bersani, the chair of the audit committee, would you like to report anything additional than we already heard?
No, I think that having the presentation from the audit this evening really sums it up quite nicely.
Wonderful, thank you. Chrissy, anything from community relations?
Well, we celebrated the new website, so if you have not looked at it, please take the time to go through it. It's beautiful. We talked about reimagining or maybe redefining the government reception that is usually held in the fall, and we will revisit that in future meetings. And then just keep a lookout. We have some district-wide publications coming up. I believe the annual report will be later this month, correct? And then kind of redesign the mental health brochure that will go out in December.
Thank you. And that mental health report was partially guided by students and our counseling staff,
Yes,
right?
so our communications team met with Heidi Green as well as students to try to figure out how to make our mental health brochure more user-friendly and just more accessible to our students and our families.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dan, for facilities?
Yeah, so we were a little bit abbreviated on our last meeting due to some quorum issues, but we did have the first half of it. And to your point about including others and other other groups that can bring informative information, and I know this is the question's been asked by quite a number of board members, is the status of the security updates following the security audits that we had done. We had a lengthy discussion about that. We were joined by our CSIROs for that. We have resolved that we will continue to involve them in that. Obviously, they are frontline and have really great insight into things that we should be looking at and from what perspective. So that was super helpful. Greatly appreciate them spending the time on that. A lot of security work was completed in the $15.4 million roofing and security project this summer. So a lot of the items have been ticked off from that. Jeff Brown is in the process of meeting with each individual building on the recommendations that were brought out with respect to each building to identify what the next priorities are for each of those buildings. I won't go into any deeper detail on it than that, other than that is progressing as we would want it to be right now. The other part, and Dr. Tice touched on this in his report, is just full disclosure to the community that when this high school project is done, this is not the end of construction at FM. We have a lot of needs still at virtually every building, including the high school. Just like the Wellwood project did not finish Wellwood, and there are still areas that need to be addressed there, particularly the 5th grade wing and the tech wing. There are significant areas of the high school that we were not able to touch in the current project for the answer to the question similarly that you had asked earlier, Sarah, on relating to maximum cost allowance per building. that the needs at the high school were much more than the current project. So that, when that cost resets, it's a 5-year reset from approval of the project, so we're approaching that soon. We will be moving forward with a proposal to the community to continue work there as well as the next schools in line.
Thank you, Dan.
Can I just ask about that? So thank you for that update on the audits. I've been nudging, so I'm really happy to hear about the progress. I'm just wondering, when it's kind of all said and done in terms of this next round, if we could get just a high-level summary in exec session, just.
I think what our plan would be is when we have that building by building check priority list, I think in exec session, it would be reasonable for us to have that discussion for sure.
Okay, so you'll let us know when that's going to be available.
And the nice thing is we've done these audits on a regular cycle. They've listed, as you know, the commendations on the things we have checked off on the box, the recommendations that are still to do, and I suspect when the next audit comes through, they'll continue to highlight the things we've done very well.
And Policy Committee.
So our policy committee continues to meet about every 2 weeks. We are almost all the way through the 9,000 series. I think we have like 1 or 2 left. And our next agenda item almost literally is the annual policy review, which happens every year. So all the minutes are available in there for specific policies. Almost there.
Still a really fun committee. So DEI and DEI and mental health has not met yet, correct? And safety committee hasn't met yet, nor wellness, correct? Okay, so we'll stay tuned for that. Any other questions before we move on?
I mean, I guess just how is the safety committee, if at all, connected to the work that's going on, some of which is confidential? So could you just, okay.
But yes, I mean, it would be a great merger, but I also keep in mind they have to do the district safety plan and the building safety plans, and they go through accidents and injuries in conjunction. So it's more than just safety and security. It's the safety of the campus. So there's no accidents, slip and falls, things like that. So, but we could, yeah, I mean, it's a natural fit. Yeah.
That's just helpful to kind of refresh on what's the mission of that committee and how it ties in, because we talk about safety in lots of different layers and elements, so.
Okay, thank you. All right, so item 3.01 is public comment. I believe we have 2 individuals for public comment. Nancy, are you here? Nancy is not here. Therese, are you here? No. Okay. Anyone else like to speak for public comment? No. No. Okay. Moving along. New business. Item 4.01. Be it resolved that the Board of Education hereby approves the amendment to the employment agreement of the Superintendent of Schools, Craig J. Tice, effective July 1, 2025, and hereby authorizes the President of the Board to execute said amendment on behalf of the district. May I have a motion, please? Thank you, John. And a second. Thank you, Anne. Any comments? All in favor? Anybody opposed or abstaining? Okay, thank you. Item 4.02, discussion of the NYSBA resolutions. So, as I sent out the homework in advance, Anne has graciously volunteered to represent us at the NYSBA annual meeting. And so I asked everyone to go through the proposed resolutions, and if there are we're only going to talk about the ones that we disagree with, the recommendation, just so Anne can be ready to vote appropriately. Are there any that stuck out to anyone? Oh, yes, Dan.
Let me get to them. Well, I mean, you have a fancy chart, I'm certain of that, so. Resolution number 3. That's page 14. Nope, it's page 14 for me. So this was a resolution to support proposals aimed at addressing the costs and administrative burdens of legal actions related to special education placements and services. I am all in favor of helping to address the costs of legal actions related to this. I'm just, to me, it's vague, and I don't want to see legislative action that puts additional burdens or limitations on families who are advocating for the needs of their special education students. And so the way that this was very cursory written, I think it could go in a direction that could help districts but potentially hurt families. And for that reason, I am not in favor of this.
That's an excellent point. Thank you for raising it. Anybody else have thoughts about this particular one? Do we have consensus on Dan's recommendation to ask Anne to vote against it? Personally, I'm okay with voting against it for that reason.
Okay.
Seeing them head nod, so thank you.
Next one was see, I did my homework. You asked me to do my homework. I did my homework. Was resolution number 8, which is in our packet, page 16. This was a safety and security matter. This is a resolution to advocate for a reduction in the number of annual lockdown drills. And, you know, the rationale discussed the total number of lockdown drills that would be involved in from, you know, K through 12, and it's high, but in our district, as they go K to 12, they go through 3 different schools, which means that, you know, it's certainly not that higher number. If you're talking about a K-12 school, doing the same lockdown drill 52 times in the course of your time at school, it absolutely seems excessive. At a district like ours, where they're migrating through 3 schools, I think that we should be drilling this. In emergency situations, people react based on muscle memory. And if you don't drill frequently enough on those, or if some students are absent on one or both of those days, then to me that presents a potential risk to the safety of those students in those horrific situations that we hope never happen.
So the way I was reading it was, you know, that is just the required amount that maybe would be reduced, but we certainly could always decide that we think we need even more than the minimum required, correct?
I just don't know that we do that. We typically follow what the requirements are.
Yeah.
And, you know, and I'm not just thinking about just our district. We're not the only ones. I think from a safety and security perspective, there is a reasonable rationale for regular drills of emergency situations. I understand they are also disruptive to the educational process, which is a significant trade-off. But I've not, Dr. Tice, maybe you have, and I'd love to hear it, but I've not heard of the number of them being a specific presenting issue in our district. If it is, that's news to me.
not in this district. Typically, I mean, they're done year-round now. It used to be they were reserved for the winter. Fire drills were in the fall and in the spring, obviously during better weather, and these were done usually midwinter. But now you're seeing the requirements spread out from September to June, so it's not all at once.
So just from me, if you approach it from an emergency services perspective and reliant on training and practice and muscle memory, to me, where we stand today is more appropriate than reducing that.
I don't know what the study says. It says in here that the research is not conclusive either way. So honestly, I don't feel strongly one way or the other. I don't feel like I have enough information to.
I mean, do we get feedback that 4 a year is excessive? I guess, what is the lived experience of the district to the extent we know?
The lived experience is 4 is fine. I think where this is coming from, and Dr. Cook could weigh in here too, there's research, because he hides over there. No worries. There is research in terms of districts that have used blank rounds. It's traumatized, so they've asked to just conduct the drill for the sake of the drill and not doing any special effects and things like that, so that for some children they have trouble discerning whether it's actually a drill or a real life event. So I think that's where the spirit of this is coming from, is that they've scaled back on, like I said, the special effects that we expect in a Hollywood blockbuster, but not to do it right and on campus.
And that totally makes sense, but this resolution is directed specifically to the number of drills, not the nature of the drill.
Thinking about our own district. Oh, I'm sorry, Sarah. I'm just
I
thinking.
was just going to ask Jacob I'm curious what your perspective might be.
In my opinion, I mean, drills, for us, they just happen quite randomly. They're not too, what I would consider traumatizing. It's mostly either for, a lockdown, it's everyone huddle into this corner and just be quiet as the lights are turned off, and maybe occasionally someone will tap on the door, make sure it's locked. It's mostly just procedure at this point. It's nothing that's people consider annoying, maybe just perhaps a little interruptive to what they would consider their usual schedule. Same thing with fire drills. Some people at the beginning of the year made a couple of comments about that one drill that inherently was not planned. Nothing I guess, against the drills themselves.
I mean, if we're thinking about our own district, and given your rationale, I'm comfortable with what Dr. Tay said about our collective experience to what we know. I would say I'd be happy to vote against this, given that.
Do you have another one, Dan? Oh. Isn't the intention of this one to, I can understand what your
thoughts are, but the way I read it is more just that the state provides supports and available to help our teachers if they have questions about incorporating AI.
Other than not doing that ourselves. But I would also defer to Dr. Tice for his thoughts on the same.
I believe, as I get near retirement, I believe in local control, whether it's curriculum. At the last NISCUS conference, and I've shared this with our new FMTA president who's in the audience, was brought up that with the governor basking in the glow of the cell phone ban, that her next initiative will be school start time bills that are in the Senate and the Assembly, and pushing them through much like California. So I know Shelley Mayer's looking into it, but that appears to be some fodder that's out there now. How much truth is in it, I do not know, but I do believe in local control, and again, cell phone ban, I understand that. I participated in the NICET awareness session in convening. I just worry that as we go down, whether it's cell phones, AI, school start times, we're just gonna start mixing what government does and what local boards have some power in. So I think it'll be a continued conversation. This won't be the end of it. I just think you're gonna have to be vigilant and watch it.
No, on this then? For no other reason, the state doesn't need to spend their money on this. They can give the money into the schools.
The next one was really for discussion is Resolution 13, page 19. This again goes to local control. I have no specific research knowledge on this, but I just thought we should discuss it. We think this is an appropriate place to be advocating for state action versus local action on whether whole milk should be served as part of school lunch. I looked at that and I said, wow, this is.
So I read it and I wondered if, like, right now, if students choose whole milk, if it's not something that we can submit for the reimbursement on. That's all I was curious about that.
I don't know, and that's why I circled this one as a, can we please discuss, and is this a place where the state should be or not?
So I have 3 meetings coming up for this. There's a Q&A meeting, an orientation, and then the actual meeting itself. I have not done this before, so there's that. But is it worth me trying to figure this out at that Q&A meeting, or is that reasonable? But we're not going to meet again before the actual meeting where I have to vote.
I mean, I don't think this particular resolution is of dire interest one way or the other to the board at this point in time. So if you can't get the answer, I don't know. Does anybody feel particularly compelled to advocate for this?
I think the way it's worded, because it says the reinstatement of whole milk as an allowable option, makes it sound like it's not allowable now. That's how I read it.
And his team could get, not on the
Okay.
spot, not expecting that, but can just get Ann some info on this about whether this is an issue.
Yeah, if you guys really want us to advocate for whole milk, that is the big ticket. I'm sure it's delicious.
Believe it or not, I mean, there's the school breakfast program, the national lunch, which we've had a little discussion this fall, but milk, believe it or not, is separate. I know we just think of it as the beverage that goes along with lunch and or breakfast, but it is a separate program which we would participate in.
It also, at the end of this resolution, states allowing the return of whole milk would also support local and regional dairy farmers, particularly in New York State, one of the nation's leading dairy producing states, thereby aligning with the agricultural sustainability and economic goals. So we do need economic development, agreed. How do you want me to proceed on this one, friends?
I would be comfortable with you looking at the Q&A and making a judgment call. There's a lot of districts in support of this, so there may be more to it than we know and necessarily have the resources to dive into.
And I believe, although I have not participated in this either, Anne, that once the resolution is open, there is dialogue from any of the districts who propose it, so that might give you a little more insight in the moment. We trust your whole milk judgment.
I had number 28 flagged just for discussion. Yes. So this was, now we're in the section that they were recommending against. And I was curious to hear the views of the rest of the board on this one.
Well, I guess sort of similar, if it's asking you, it's a interestingly worded
Yes.
one as well, because if we're saying New York State is involved in it, sort of goes to that local control piece.
I think from mine, it's a double, it's
yeah.
exactly where I was going is
Yeah.
I don't think that the state needs to be involved in our curriculum. This says to oppose, this is a resolution to oppose certain involvement by the state, but only in some circumstances. So there's, yeah. Dr. Tice, do you have an opinion one way or the other on this one?
I mean, it's a double negative, which means that school boards would be in favor, and that's why if you look at your infographic that Dr. Doughton had given to me that I had put in with my report, I mean, the whole New York Inspires, as we look to do that work, is closely tied to the CRSE framework that Catherine and I spoke about today. So I get it, but I think the CRSE framework is moving the New York Inspires program forward.
They're opposing this.
They're opposing any policy that does not promote excellence, so they only want, right?
Yes.
Yeah. They just want to promote anything, they don't want to promote anything that doesn't advance standards and academic excellence.
And the CRSE framework promotes rigor and
I just wanted to see what input or thoughts this group had on this one as I read through.
It is so generic, it just doesn't have any teeth to me, so I'm fine with it. I'm fine.
What I need.
Opposing,
We're opposing.
We're going along with NISBA.
Yeah, we're following the recommendation.
Yes, they are not advancing this, and we are going along with that.
Did anyone besides Dan have? I know. I just wanted to see if there's anybody else that had one. I'm just curious. Okay, go ahead, Dan.
Wait, 34? Resolution 34?
Resolution 34.
I was on page 34.
Page 31.
Or 37.
So this was recommended against. It's a resolution that NYSBA advocate for the mandatory implementation of daily recess for all students in schools that serve
This is yours.
exclusively elementary grade levels in addition to scheduled physical education classes. I understood, there was some vagary into this as to what is elementary grade levels. I guess what I would just say is, if there's discussion on this during the voting process, that would lead to a clarification of that that's consistent with our schools, then I mean, I'm fully in favor of this as an important part of the day.
Elementary is up to 6th grade by the state standards. So it wouldn't be our middle schools because they don't exclusively serve elementary.
I'm sorry. This, I believe, is in response to, as being a senior member, the commissioner's regulations stipulated number of minutes in physical education. And as we move to New York Inspires, that seems to be absent for physical education. So it requires some activity daily in grades K through 3. So I think this is trying to memorialize the importance of the kinesthetic movement and having students active. It doesn't have to be a phys ed class. It could have been recess supervised by a phys ed teacher. So I just think this is because of the fact that commissioner's regulation is sort of disappearing as we go to the New York Inspires. So I don't know, there was quite the advocacy, I think, back when those regs were established for physical education, and there was quite a presence for that physical activity, and it seems to be silent right now as we go forward. Still important, it's just silent.
So that's,
There is a resolution to do just that, to set the recess to be included as part of our instructional hours. It's resolution 14 that they are supporting now.
But it was supposed to be grades K through 3 daily, and if it wasn't phys ed, it had to be, the recess had to be supervised by a phys ed instructor.
so is that sufficient that we're supporting 14 and not 34? I think it was 14, right, Chrissy?
14 tries, supports recess in the, I forgot how they worded it, I lost my page, sorry.
It includes recess minutes as part of the overall.
In the instructional
structure of the day.
hours.
Yes, and then this is separate, which is effectively calling for mandatory implementation of daily recess, which I will just add, given my profession, I am all in favor of.
I think if you go to any school building when they have indoor recess, I think everyone is in favor of having some outdoor recess.
Am I, for, what was it, 14? I'm going to thumbs up on 14, and I'm going to thumbs down on 34.
Okay.
I'm asking.
That's, I mean, that's fine, as
Okay.
long as 14 meets our purposes and needs, then,
Okay.
okay.
So I'm following the recommendation.
My last one was gonna go back and backwards, is I just wanted to raise resolution 7 with huge kudos to the Albany School Board for putting this one forward. Which is a resolution to advocate for an overhaul of the current inadequate testing system to more accurately measure achievement in skills, knowledge, and abilities. And if I could encourage Ann to vote with both arms, both legs, and every digit possible on that, just wanted to add that.
So I would also encourage Dan, I think you would make an excellent resolution writer
for
make a
next
motion.
year, if there was a particular topic, I think you, I mean that in all sincerity, I think you would do an excellent job at proposing one.
I think this is one of these things, and we've talked about this a little bit over the years, that we kind of sort of wait until like right up to what the deadline is and say, is there anything we should be doing? And I think what I would really like to ask is across the full board and each of our committees, as we are identifying and running into things like we did in the past with not being able to get state aid to prospectively build and add on to classrooms, is as we find that we run into things that just don't logically make sense for our district, that we flag those to bring back for a discussion so that we can put forth those things that we think would be more helpful to our district.
Thank you. Yeah, excellent idea. Any other? Anyone else?
Yeah, I just want to come back to 34, because I think we ended saying that we were going to oppose that. And I just want to clarify that is that?
Yes, we're following the recommendation.
For the amended version of 34. So 14 was in favor of, and then 34 was the amended version, correct?
Proposed.
Mandating recess. Again, I'm going to look at our self-interest. We're going to have recess. We don't need it to be mandated. It would be great if we can count it toward instructional time. So I was okay with how it was recommended.
And the rationale was that there needed to clarify elementary grade levels.
Yeah, but ironically, neither did 14, and they didn't have that issue with 14. So I thought that was kind of disingenuous.
I did send to the board via email just the link to the state ed piece on this. And again, I think it has a lot to do with the requisite number of minutes, whatever lobbying effort that existed, and rightfully so, for students to be physically fit and healthy is, like I said, gone by the wayside as things move forward. And I think this is attempting to help find that balance once again, not without having the minutes prescribed. So the link is just in an email to all of you.
Am I opposing?
Yeah, well, I was just trying to get clarity, because it felt like there was some confusion between 14 and 34, and I wanted to make sure I knew where we ended up.
Yeah, we're following NYSBA's recommendation for 14 and following NYSBA's recommendation for 34. Okay. Anything else? Thank you. Thank you for doing that, Anne, and thank you, Dan, for your careful review. Okay, item 5.01, board development. We have already discussed that. I put my plug in for events and professional development. Potential considerations, 5.02 for future meetings, no changes there. Item 6.01, future meetings. So we are meeting again in October with presentation around building action plans, which is always a really good, informative one. 6.02, dates to remember. Lots of athletic events, homecoming, which Jacob already talked about. The Small Read Coffee Talks is coming up tomorrow. So the Anxious Generation, if you haven't already and you want to participate, there is information out on our website, I presume. All right, so consent agenda, item 7.01. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Fayetteville-Manlius Central School District hereby approves the consent agenda as presented. May I have a motion, please? Thank you, John and Chrissy. All in favor? Anybody abstaining or opposing? Thank you. And finally, item 9.01, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Fayetteville-Manlius Central School District enters into executive session to discuss the employment history of a particular person and the superintendent search process. May I have a motion, please? Thank you, Rebecca, and a second. Thank you, Dan. All in favor? Anybody opposed or abstaining? Thank you. Thank you to all of you who have come on this really beautiful summer-ish night and given up your time. And we will be adjourning following executive session, so have a nice evening.